So, how does a heart surgery patient also deal with COVID? 5 weeks ago today, I had heart surgery, and my biggest fear was the pause, the recovery time, how to be okay with not being active, not playing sports, not surfing, and not being able to do the things that I want to do, but sitting at home recovering. But when I was told that the recovery would be only 4 to 6 weeks, I started making plans and I started to justify how it wasn't really going to be that bad. But I had an appointment with my doctor a few days ago, and it was really disappointing because this COVID cough that I've been experiencing actually has set back my recovery time in that it has split open my sternum again and started this clicking. And so it's going to take a lot longer for it to heal. Thankfully, I get to go back to work in a week. However, my extremely active life is being put on pause even longer. This was really disappointing to me, but it's really shown me if my faith is for real or is it short term? Am I willing to trust God for just 6 weeks, or am I willing to trust Him for as long as He needs? Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 has been a verse that I've always memorized and understood, but not really lived out. To trust in the Lord with all my heart and to not lean on my own understanding, because I make a lot of plans and I rationalize how things aren't that bad. However, when things get worse, then I have a lot of fear. And so I've learned to trust God with my whole heart. I read a Devo this morning that really spoke to me on Isaiah 55, 8 through 9. And it was talking about our assumptions that we make of God and how these false assumptions that we have of God brings a lot of discouragement. And it gives the example of Moses. When Moses was called of God by the burning bush, Moses had assumed that God was going to afflict the Egyptians and that it would be an easy thing for the Exodus to come about. However, he didn't realize that the Hebrews were going to turn against him and actually hate him for the liberation that he was trying to bring, and that Pharaoh was not going to release the Hebrews easily. So it's taught me that we set a lot of conditions with God. People in the Bible have set a lot of conditions with God that they'll follow him if, but do we follow God unconditionally? Is this our life or is it his life? Do we truly trust him? So, with my 5th week of recovery behind me, I'm really starting to learn to trust him, realizing that it's not about what I can do for God, but what God wants to do in my heart. There's just tons of things that I would rather be doing right now for God, but he's teaching me to pause. He's teaching me to be like the Hebrews for 40 years in the wilderness, where they paused and learn from God for them to be victorious in the promised land. And so that's what God's doing a lot in my heart right now. So I'm praying for my eyes to be open to the opportunities that He gives me, but also praying for that faithfulness in what He's given me already and learning how to be shepherded of God and learning to trust Him. Like I've always told my students that if you don't get into the university that you wanted, or if you don't make the team that you were hoping for, that means that you weren't supposed to go to that university. You weren't supposed to be on that team. God has something else in store for you. So it's really important to trust God fully and not just set conditions. Otherwise, it's going to lead to a lot of frustration and disappointment.